I've gotten so many nice responses from the first video that I posted showing what I've done with my little fishing yak here that I felt a little compelled to show what I've done since then. All the little things that I've added and updated since my last video. So come check it out. One of the changes I made was the anchor trolley. I added a pulley in the front and moved it further forward and further back. And I also dropped it down a little bit so that it wasn't up on top of the boat. It's much more out of the way. It still works great. I love having an anchor trolley. In the back, I've added these galvanized fence pipe extensions to my rod holders. They slipped in there perfectly. It was just the right diameter. And those have worked out pretty well. And it keeps the rod a little higher away from the water. And around the base of it I have a little bungee that I can put on the handle of the rod like that. So if I catch a big fish, it won't be able to get taken from me. I've heard stories about it, don't want it to happen to me. One of the main changes that I've added since last time was pontoons to stabilize the craft. I've added so much stuff to this boat that I was starting to get a little tipsy. So I looked at all the various videos out there on YouTube of different pontoon styles, and this here seemed to be the best solution for my yak. And it's just a piece of PVC that I put across the back behind the seat, and it extends this way, and that helped give it a little additional support instead of relying on little clips or something, which I've got 3 of them here, and those hold it in place pretty well. My pivot point is the old standby male and female fittings coming up to this part here. It's pretty stiff without the pontoons on it, but once you add the pontoon and a little bit of weight, the leverage makes it real easy to put in the up and down positions. Let me show you how that works. This is one of the pontoons. It's a sleeve of styrofoam. Embedded inside is a piece of PVC. Here is the blank. I looked around my house and saw some stuff that I had. What can I use to make a pontoon? Yes, styrofoam. Right, that'll work just nice. I used a grinder to carve this out. You see that? Here's my PVC skeleton. I ground this down until I could fit the skeleton inside of it. And this side, beautiful. And I've used collarless pins to lock it in place. Once I've got the pontoon in place, I can then just drop it down once I'm out in the water and lock it in place using a cotter pin. All the different holes here were intended to enable me to lock the pontoons in various positions, but it turns out the only position I really need it locked down in is the down position so that they'll work properly. When I need it stored upright, they'll stay there just fine. Having these pontoons on the boat really stabilize everything, and they help me throw a cast net, or just stand and fish. And that's why I put these platforms here on the boat. That black part underneath is some styrofoam. I carved it to the shape of the boat. And on top is a piece of rough cut cedar. I left it kind of rough so that it would give me some traction. I did sand it a little bit though, so I wouldn't get splinters. That really comes in handy. I switched up the seat a little bit as well. I still have my regular cushion, but I added this, another piece of bed liner with some PVC fittings screwed to it. I cut it so that it would be the shape of the seat, and then I also cut some slices down the length of it to help it drain. There's also holes in the PVC fittings to help ensure that it's going to continue to drain even when they're down in the scupper holes. That raises my cushion up a little bit and allows water to drain still but not soak the cushion. So the cushion on top gives me a little additional height and keeps me just a little bit drier. And I got a place here for my scissors. Now that I use braided line, I need something a little better than nail clippers. And to answer somebody's question, yes, I have a cup holder. It's a plastic dealie that I got out of one of my vehicles. I think it was a Silverado. And I glued it in place. And it holds my beer cans a little sturdier than what came with the Kayak. And it's hot as heck down here in Florida, so I figured a way to attach my PDF to the back of the seat. It adds a little cushioning to this hard plastic, and it ensures that I will bring it with me even on those days when it's really too hot to wear it. It's secured in place with this little bungee that ties here and there. Piece of cake. The cooler has a few updates on it. A little bling I put on the top and on the sides. These rod holders are a little thicker too. These are the Schedule 40 pipes that I should have used in the first place. And I spread them apart a little bit further so that there'd be room in between the reels on the rods, and they wouldn't get hung up quite so easily. The old style worked just fine. This just happens to work a little bit better. The little flag that I put here, this just is a plug for my skeg assembly accessory port, I guess you would call it. That's the Norwegian flag, homage to the guys that went out on the original Kon-Tiki. also went to Harbor Freight and got myself some new wheels here. These wheels are lighter and they're actually filled with air instead of foam, and they ride a lot smoother, they take up less space. I'm pretty happy with the way that went. I got them on sale for $4 a piece. Some of the other changes that I've made, obviously putting my name on the lid of the cooler and painting it silver. It was white, but the top of the fish box here, this was black. I figured that wasn't going to work in the Florida sun, so I painted that with the paint that I had in the house, which was silver, and then painted the cooler to match. Put a little bit on the flotation's eyes as well. Found a better place for my whistle. That's one of the other things I've done. And also added a little bling to my bubbler here. Got myself a new dry box with the tiki face. On the top, I carved out part of the toolbox here and glued in these pieces of PVC that I cut in half. That's my rod holder from while I'm in the standing position. I can just reach down, place the rod there, and not have to sit back down to put it on the side of the boat there where it normally is. Some other recent changes I made are these marks on the side of the boat. I finally filled them up with a little paint. One of the comments I got in my last video was that I should get rid of the 10-pound plate that I was using as an anchor and buy a small one, and I finally broke down and spent some money and did that. This actually works two ways. One, collapse like this makes a nice drift anchor, and if you open it up it turns into a pretty substantial anchor here, like that. Takes up less space. It's only 3.5 pounds versus that 10-pound plate, so it's easier to retrieve and it reduces my overall weight. I guess worth the money, I got to admit. The aqua pack I've got there from my phone I think is a wise investment. Tethers onto the rod holder, keeps it nice and dry. Now under the toolbox I noticed that there was some space. I've got to fill my space with something. I find that the cast net fits in there real nice. This way I've got it with me whenever I need to get me some bait. Another change that I made was on this navigational light. I realized that, you know, only the front is supposed to be visible, so I painted the back side of this black. Painted the tackle box on the front. That's a new thing since last time. Always have to have a Super Spook Junior with me, which is what I fancied the pontoons after. So there it is, there's the updated version. I just want to say before I go, the comments on the first video were very, very cool. I appreciate every single one of them. I read every one of them. Thank you all so much. And again, I hope this helped you. And I hope you get out there and do some fishing of your own. Catch you later.